Last week I mentioned that this month, our focus is prayer. All about prayer, affirmative prayer, what it is, where it came from, how we use it in unity. But I thought it might be good to devote today to honoring Indigenous Peoples Day, which is tomorrow, and kind of see where we might find some commonality in our spirituality, and acknowledge the differences. Sound good? I promise I'll circle back to prayer at the end. So Indigenous Peoples Day is now a recognized holiday. I'm not sure it's a bank holiday yet, but it's getting there, and I think it's a counterbalance to Columbus Day, which is really fading into, thankfully, it's fading away. So it really acknowledges, the history of colonization, yes, but the resilience and the amazing contribution of Indigenous peoples in this country. And it reminds us of their value and their culture and their respect for the planet and the sacred wisdom that is really woven throughout all of the tribes. How many of you have ever participated in Native American or Indigenous ceremony?
Powwow yesterday and tomorrow and today too.
Wow, okay, great. Well, talk to Sue Ann. Maybe she can hook you up there. That sounds great. Yeah, it's powerful. Now, the only thing that I've experienced was, I went to Cherokee, and, they had a powwow there, and beautiful costumes, beautiful dances, and the drumming. I think it was more geared toward tourists, though, so I'm not sure how authentic that was, but it was still really beautiful. And working on this talk today, I have discovered a treasure trove of resources at the Smithsonian Museum of the American Indian. Has anybody been there in D.C.? You have? Oh, wow. I haven't been in person, but the online museum is fabulous. Oh my God, the photographs that they have restored and new photographs and first-person stories from every possible angle, and articles, it's really, I highly recommend it. They also have some sobering statistics, like approximately 95% of Indigenous peoples were wiped out over the period of time that European settlers came in. That's a lot, and we know that some of it was disease, that we brought over disease that they were never introduced to, and, they hadn't built immunity. But if it wasn't that, it was outright killing or enslavement or forced relocation, right? And then the children later on were sort of forced to go to these boarding schools where they were stripped of their language and their spirituality and their identity, which really left a legacy of trauma. Now, I recognize that my ancestors were European, and I think about it, they probably at some point, they either directly participated at some point or just turned their back, pretending not to look. I don't know. My father's ancestors settled in Pennsylvania, where I know that there are some of these boarding schools. And my mother's ancestors in Ohio, where there was forced relocation. But I don't know of any state that this horrible history didn't happen. Any state. So this day kind of gives us an opportunity to reconcile our history and to really kind of hold the generational trauma that has resulted as part of this. So now, despite our ancestors' efforts to wipe out or at least silence an entire population, the Native American is still here, standing strong, and works really hard to ensure that their language and sacred traditions and their culture is not forgotten. And I think it's even stronger now than it has been before. There's more of an awareness and more of a willingness to, pass it down so it doesn't get lost. It's a beautiful thing to see. And, I think in this country and in Canada, which I understand the correct term is First Nations, yes, First Nations people. And even Australia, we are slowly, very, very slowly, beginning to recognize the amazing value and the incredible heritage of Indigenous people. I think one of the best cabinet appointments that Biden has made in his term was Deb Haaland, who was Laguna Pueblo tribe, to the Secretary of the Interior, which is a position, partially responsible for determining land use. Yeah, hello, it's their land, they should have some say. Right, that was great. And also part of what she's doing is going to these sites where these former boarding schools have been, and the cemeteries where Native American children were buried, and just bearing witness, and addressing the trauma, past and present. So small steps for sure, but at least it's a start. Now, while I think all tribes have different ways of, different spiritual practices and sacred ceremonies, there is something profound about the way that Indigenous peoples in general experience the world. So, unlike Christianity and Eastern religions, even, how we seek that connection with the divine in the absolute, in the invisible, in the transcendent, that higher dimension. We think about it. Whereas Native Americans experience spirit in nature. I mean, experience, it's not just an idea, it's not just a theory. Experience spirit in all of nature, which one could call animism or pantheism, maybe. But I think it goes way beyond any kind of labels. In fact, there was, this is one of the things I found on that Smithsonian, Rosalind Marie Amenta wrote a book, The Earth Mysticism of the Native American Tribal Peoples. And she says, the mystical experience indigenous to the native North American tribal peoples stands out uniquely in the history of religions in that is grounded in the vision of a sacred world which underlies, envelops, and is manifestly present within the entire empirical order. The sacred dimension is not regarded as otherworldly or transcendently beyond. The Native American does not transcend the world in the Christian manner. Rather, she plunges into the world and experiences herself and the earth as being totally immersed in divine reality. Isn't that beautiful? Plunges into the world and experiences herself and the earth as being totally immersed in divine reality. I love that. So, Indigenous wisdom teaches us about the sacredness of the earth and everything in it, as opposed to a resource to be exploited. Rather, this living, breathing reality that is infused with the divine. Such an important lesson for us, I think, to embrace, particularly now, as we are all experiencing the effects of climate change, to take a day and really reflect on how we have viewed the world how we have viewed this planet and the choices and the actions that have come from that worldview. You know, it's tempting to think of these last two superstorms as a natural disaster, but they are directly related to the higher temperatures in the Gulf. Directly related. Yes, we've always had, hurricanes, but these massive storms that travel so far, there's a few people here from Asheville, God bless you. Traveling that far and doing that much damage directly related to the rise in temperature, which is not natural, it is human caused. That is human caused. We can no longer ignore the fact that our actions have an effect, right? We just can't. And you wonder if we had in the beginning adopted that viewpoint, the indigenous viewpoint, if we had not come here arrogant and shoved our values onto indigenous people and instead listened and really got their view, their sacredness of this planet, would we have spewed CO2 causing fossil fuels into the sky for decades? Even when we learned that that is the leading cause of, global warming? I don't think so. I don't think we would have. We see the earth and the sky and as everything is sacred. So this gives us pause and an openness to really shift our view now, right now, to shift our view of how we are, experiencing and therefore taking action, making choices and taking action. And, unity does have this is what we have in common, is this deep understanding of our oneness with each other and our oneness with all that is around us in this sacred web of life. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to share with you. This Chief Seattle, who 1854 spoke to D.C., the legislators in D.C., and he said, "Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself." Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. So we share this view that we are all connected in this beautiful, sacred web of the divine. We don't normally talk about it that way, but that's a beautiful way to see it. It's a beautiful way to hold that we're all together in this beautiful, sacred web of life. And yes, we share that commonality in unity that, the divine is all around us and profoundly within us. It connects us with the whole. And so the question is, will we awaken to this and then have the courage to make choices and take action from that awareness? So let's look at another aspect of Native American spirituality for a minute. And while all tribes, they differ and they have different, although I think there's some cross-pollination there is some sharing of things. Definitely in general is this idea of a central practice of gratitude. That's right there. Of gratitude. This deep appreciation, love and appreciation for all that the Creator has provided, both on this planet and beyond. That practice of gratitude. And this beautiful saying by Joshua Wetsit, an Assiniboine elder in 1886, said, But our Indian religion is all one religion, the Great Spirit. We're thankful that we're on this Mother Earth. That's the first thing when we wake up in the morning, is to be thankful for the Great Spirit, for Mother Earth, how we live, what it produces, what keeps everything alive. And isn't that what we teach and we practice in unity? The first thing we want to do when we wake up in the morning is have that thought of gratitude, to be grateful. And the last thing we want to do when we go to bed at night is that practice of gratitude. All of the blessings that are already in our lives for being alive. That sandwiches our day in really connecting with Source, feeling that oneness with all of life, with each other, with that divine presence within. Gratitude, such an important practice. So has anybody heard this term Wakantanka? Wakantanka? Yeah, it's a Lakota concept. Is the great mystery and that power of sacredness that exists in everything, that creative energy that is beyond space and time, but that binds everything together through the 7 directions, which we're going to have an experience of in just a minute, an actual experience of that in just a minute. But first, I want to share a story with you from Greg Braden. Have you ever heard of Greg Braden? He's written some wonderful books. One of them, Divine Matrix. I think that really was one of the and I think the story is from that book. But this is where he's living in New Mexico, and he has a good friend who is Native American, and they have been through a drought, or like a serious drought, like the longest for a long time in a drought. This is in the 90s. And his friend, who's Native American, invites him up to do this rain dance and brings him up to a hill where this circle of old, ancient, like laid by the ancient ancestors, kind of a medicine wheel. And he takes off his shoes and steps into the circle and calls in the directions, and then closes his eyes and is silent for a couple minutes. And then he turns to Greg and he says, "I'm hungry, let's go get something to eat." And Greg is like, "Oh, wait a second, where's the dancing? Where's the rain dance? Where, the chanting and the drumming, where is all of that? I mean, if you're not praying for rain, what were you doing in there?" And he said, "I'm not praying for rain, I am praying rain. If I was praying for rain, then I would be focusing on the current lack of it in my life. But instead, when I close my eyes," he says, "I felt the feeling of what it feels like after there's been so much rain, I can stand with my naked feet in the mud of my Pueblo village. I smelled the smells of rainwater rolling off the earthen walls of our homes. And I felt what it feels like to walk through a field of corn that's chest high because of all the rain that has fallen. In that way, I plant the seed for the possibility of that rain, and then I give thanks of gratitude and appreciation." There it is again. Isn't that cool? And then it rained the next day. Yeah. Exactly. Here we go. We're back to the circle of affirmative prayer. In affirmative prayer, we want to avoid praying for something because, hear that, if we're praying for something, we're focusing on the lack of it in our lives. So instead, we want to pray from the realization, from the awareness that we already have. The abundance, we already have it. Remember we talked about last week. That's how Jesus taught us to pray. Pray believing that you have received and you shall have. And we want to get into that energy of having. So it's not just words, not just a prayer of words, it's that feeling. I'm feeling the corn this high, I'm walking through it, and the joy, and I'm seeing, and I'm playing in the mud. You see, it's an all-sensory kind of experience. That's where we want to open to that idea, that experience. And so now I'd like to invite you into an experience, and to lead this, we have the resident keeper of our Sun Bear medicine wheel, Gain Steer. Let's give it up for Gain Steer.
I don't know about this. Short man. Indigenous spirituality is a bit of a misnomer, as Reverend Victoria indicated, since American Indians could be said to honor or worship nature and animals. 50 states, all 50 states of course, have a diverse terrain from sea to shining sea. Thus, the 574 tribes each have their own practices and beliefs. Belief, however, is a misnomer in this case, since indigenous people tended to have nature-integrated philosophy and practices. If you don't mind, if it's not too much trouble, would you slip your shoes off? You don't have to, but we'll find out who will and who won't. There are several identifiable practices, as Reverend Victoria alluded, that numerous tribes enjoyed, for lack of a better word. I belong to the Bear tribe, a worldwide group of mostly Caucasian folks who honor the vision of Sun Bear, a Chippewa medicine man whose widely publicized vision in 1980 saw persons of all clans singing, dancing, chanting as they moved clockwise around a circle of stones while honoring the cardinal directions, holding peace in their words and hearts. So that gives us permission. Everything that we're going to do today, we're going to do some chanting and some other ideas, some practices, if you will. We have permission to do this. Among the spirited practices that we may participate in today are the campfire. There are numerous ones held each year in our sacred outdoor spaces, which features a labyrinth, a medicine wheel, and a sacred, features a labyrinth, a Sun Bear medicine wheel, and a medicine trail. These are open to the public and can be visited any time, by the way. Tobacco, where's my tobacco? Tobacco, one of the great paradoxes of all times, of course, is that the Native Americans, indigenous people who used tobacco in a ceremonial way, shared this with their conquerors, who of course turned it into an industry. Need I say more? No. A great paradox, I must say. By the way, this is actual. We use this tobacco in our medicine wheel. It's North Carolina grown. Needless to say, but I will, dancing, singing, and chanting are among the indigenous style practices associated. How many of you have attended a powwow? See, that was in my lesson. We already did that, so we do it twice. Oh, and are there any folks here who have native blood? We got 2, 3, counting. I don't know whether you know or not, but I've met people who have faked it, who claim they have. So can you prove it? So we're going to do this is a chant we've done here before. It's called "O Great Spirit." It has 4 lines. I'm going to chant it, and then we'll say it aloud, and then we're going to do a call and response. It goes this way. O great Spirit, earth, sun, sky, and sea, you are inside and all around me. Ready? O great Spirit, earth, sun, sky, and sea, you are inside Among the spirited practices that we may participate in today are the campfire. Numerous ones are held each year in our outdoor sacred spaces, which features, as you probably know, a labyrinth, a sun bearer medicine wheel, and a meditation trail. I think I did that already. Rituals that honor our ancestors are often present in indigenous spiritual practices. This is a value known to be present in authentic Native American lifestyles. Practices such as the traditional sweat lodge, which should be approved or led by a Native American, usually end with the prayer-like call, Matakawasan, Great Spirit or Creator, a great mystery or Creator. It's often assumed that it was the missionaries that brought in the reference to Great Spirit, that many tribes would refer to the Great Spirit as the mystery. So we honor the mystery and the Great Spirit. We're going to I'm going to lead the 7 directions. In the Lakota tradition, which many ceremonies follow, including the Unity Center of Peace Sun Bear Medicine Wheel, there are 7 directions to observe and honor in respect of this special Indigenous service. So, if you will, stand, and we're going to honor. First, we're going to honor face the east, which is this direction. Each time we turn, it'll be a half turn to the right. We honor the east, where the sun comes up. New beginnings, promises, and potentials. Half turn. We honor the warmth of the south, growth, fertility, and faith. Turn a half turn. We honor the west, direction of rest and dream lives, closure to take place from new beginnings. Then we honor the north, direction of cold winds, strength, courage, and clarity of purpose. Then we face upward, and we honor Father Sky, mind, soul, and spirit. Then we look down, where our feet are touching the earth. We touch Mother Earth, we honor nature and reverence for our earth. Then the 7th one is that we turn inward. Place a hand over your heart and honor the spirit within. Turning inward is indeed profound. This is the venture inward. In New Thought language, this is honoring our consciousness or inner resources. Thus, the 7th step means that human consciousness is a universal direction. That's very profound. The 7th step means that human consciousness, our inner work and growth, is a universal direction. Now we're to say together, Matakawasan, we are all related. Can we do that together? Matakawasan, we are all related. This chant, let me have the drum now. This chant that it's called Wakantanka, which Victoria already said is the Great Spirit or the Great Mystery. So it's called in response. Ready? I'm going to do it one time as best I can, and then we're going to do the call and response. It goes like this. Wakantanka, Achetamaya, Oyetewana, O Achinta, O Great Spirit, be merciful upon us, that all people we may live. O Great Spirit, be merciful upon us, like you are when the feet of beings walk upon you. Obviously, we're going to dance. So call and response. Oh, great, sorry. Wakantanka, Achetamaya, Oyetewana, O Achinta, O Achinta, O Great Spirit, you can dance. O Great Spirit, merciful upon us, be merciful upon us, like you are when the feet of pigs and dance a little bit. That all people we may live. That all people we may live. One more time. That all people we may live. That all people we may live. Woo! Great.
Thank you, James.
Almost through. In closing, which is a unity invitation to begin, in closure, which is a unity invitation to begin, I'm reminded to tell you that for the most part, Indigenous people did not worship a deity, but preferred the great mystery, a pathway that many of us can and do identify with, We also honor that tradition. Aho! Aho! Louder. Aho! Aho! One more time. Aho! Aho! This is a touchstone which was given to me by a Native American woman who had spent her elder years traveling all over the United States where there had been Indian battles like Wounded Knee, collecting stones. Joseph Astorito and I made a medicine wheel in a secluded site in Virginia using the stones, and she gave me 6 of them. They're in the medicine wheel, and this one lives out on our deck. So whenever you want to, you can touch this stone and feel the energy of our indigenous ancestors. These are also, these are shard from Chatham County, where Native Americans made arrowheads. So if you would like to feel the energy of our ancestors, Native American ancestors, you may touch those as well. I think this is it.
Hi. If this video has inspired you, opened your heart, expanded your consciousness, filled you with hope, empowered you in some way, we encourage you to support what we offer here at Unity Center of Peace by making your donation now. And thank you.